Filme Shilmy has been quite fortunate, really, because last time we had Veer and Kavi together, it was actually just after the Emmys, and now here they are. They've directed a feature comedy film which absolutely looks hilarious, and I've rewatched the clips so many times, and it literally makes me laugh so much. And the film is called Happy Patel Khatarnaak Jasoos. So a big congratulations and a warm welcome to you both, Veer and Kavi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
man.
man.
And also, what a great way to kick off the year. I think initially when I saw the trailer, it kind of instantly, as someone who has grown up watching like a lot of the 2000s comedy caper films like Naked Gun,
Yeah.
Don't Mess with Zohan, Johnny English, name all of these films. And that's the first sort of initial reaction that I got. I would love to know actually, has that really played a really big part, I think, in terms of shaping the grammar that you've adapted for the film as well?
I think yeah, like Zohan is a big reference for us,
Mm.
right? And I think it's Zohan like it's either like Pathan meets Johnny English, you know what I mean, or it's Zohan meets Farah Khan. You know, like those are
Yeah.
the two kind of mixes that we think of. What do you think is a big
Yeah.
reference?
Also, like, the Three Amigos. There's so many films that we've been inspired by. And I think the interesting thing with this is that the process getting to the actual floor and actually filming, we found our rhythm and we found the tone of our comedy.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting because Amir sir, he puts us through quite a rigorous narration process, then test shoots and etc. And within that, we found our tone,
Yeah.
which was very interesting.
Hmm. And I must say, actually, I feel like the humor is very you both, actually. I mean, Veed, your stand-ups, I think obviously make us all chuckle a lot. And I think this idea of self-deprecating humor, I think because we've just had bads of Bollywood, so I
Yeah.
think it's really re-cemented that feeling for such and wanting of such content. Obviously, you worked in Delhi Belly, Aamir Khan's Productions is, which was also a great one. And I think even for you, Kavi, as well, I was thinking about this. And of course, you have the whole NRI aspect, which I'm sure is pretty much you being a Guju from East London, who's obviously then transitioned into Mumbai and then, made life work. But then also when I look at your shows like Rishta.com and the character that you played in that, the humor was very witty and almost, I would say, stylish and sarcastic at the same time. So together, I feel like it's really merged very well. So I know you just touched on it on your previous response, but it'd be great to expand on how the creative drawing room was when it came to, sort of forming the humor as well.
Well,
Yeah,
after you.
yeah. I mean, look, we've collaborated for 15 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
15 years now, and we kind of met as almost background extras on the film. And I think from day one, we just hit it off. We just understood each other. And I think, even the process of, I think we find the same things funny. And I think that's really important. Some of it, is it's funny to us,
Yeah.
and the one thing about this film that we've really, is it funny to us, did we find it funny, is our tone funny, and I think that if we enjoy it, I think that it's hopefully the audience will enjoy it too, and I think it's been a very collaborative process
Yeah.
from beginning to end,
I think there are also rules, right? Like we have
mm,
rules for the tone of this film. Number one, nobody knows they are in a comedy.
mm,
That's rule number one. So
Mm.
whenever having any actors play it for comedy, you're playing it for stakes. You're playing it for as real and as straight as you can, right? Rule number two is the hero never wins until the hero needs to win, right? So the formula behind a good Adam Sandler, Ben Stiller arc is you just watch horrible shit continue to happen to one guy until they get their moment, hopefully, right? And even when they get their moment, you kind of take the rug out from under them. So I essentially show up in India and get my ass handed to me every 3 seconds,
Right.
in this movie. And then the final thing is, if we ever feel like it's filmy, or if we ever feel like it's predictable, immediately land a joke.
mm.
So every serious moment or every emotional moment, we try to ghusao a joke in there, as a laugh in there, and kind of disarm it as often as we can. And those are like our three broad rules for comedy in the movie.
And again, I love the subtle pop culture references that you've had from what I've seen in this trailer. I mean, when you're standing on the car and you're like Gao Valo, and someone's like, "Arey, it's Goa, man." I think that really made me laugh, and I just loved the accent that you've managed to capture, Veed, because it's absolutely on point. And I can vouch for this being an East Londoner myself, and hearing sort of our own people try to speak Gujarati or Hindi and then butchering it with their British accent is actually quite a phenomenon. I would love to know again because you've traveled the world. I mean, you've seen different cultures and characteristics. Kavi, the fact that you've traveled, like I mentioned as well, from London to India and made a really thriving career there. These joint observations about, how have those really helped you, I guess, cement your sort of understanding of as artists as well, of different cultures and this sort of exchange, if we may say so. How has that really helped you in life as well, really cement your perspective, I think, as artists?
You see, I think perspective wise, like I think we've both been broke.
Yeah.
We've both nearly been out on the streets.
Yeah.
We've both seen success. We've both seen failure. We've both also traveled enough of the world individually and with each other as well. So we've managed to capture a lot of like. I think in a lifetime, I think we've seen a lot. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of that when we're looking at small things like with this film, for example, when you see Goa as a really fluffy, nice, palm trees and all of that stuff.
Typically, how you see Goa. Yeah.
What we wanted to show was kind of the underbelly of Goa. Where it's a little more gritty, it's a little more the thing. I think so that's I think also seeing that around the world has really helped us with that. And I just want to say, like to your first point, actually butchering Hindi is a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, it's not easy
It's
to do.
not easy.
Yeah.
And I commend Veer for being able to like just pull it off and hold it throughout the entire film as well. Because even though I've come from England and I'm now in India, when I speak Hindi, I actually find it quite difficult to butcher it, even though I find it quite hard to do. So like I commend him on that because that was something that I don't think any other artist that I can think of would be able to do that.
Well, convincingly.
Convincingly,
but
yeah.
I think the other thing that helps us is Kavi showed up as an NRI. I kind of showed up as an NRI, or like America returned, right? And then we both moved to Bombay around the same time. This film is about a guy who shows up in modern India, basis training, which is like 3 weeks old, and films
Yeah.
from the early 2000s, right? So it's very much how an NRI gets modern India wrong, is the tone of the movie, So he thinks it's Gaon Walo, it's actually Goa Walo. You know what I mean? He thinks he has high tech training for India. He actually doesn't. India is way more high tech than he is. So I think it's a lot of the NRI tropes that you've seen in movies for years turned on their head. It's kind of like India's answer to NRIs in a certain way,
Right. Yeah, yeah. And I really like that. It's very tongue in cheek. I mean, do you know what? I've got to also mention the quirky characters. And I think whenever Aamir Khan Productions takes up a comedy, you can expect some really great quirky characters. Instantly, I mean, I have been literally laughing endlessly on Aamir Khan's character, Jimmy. As soon as I saw where this lady is like, "Arey, Jimmy kya kar raha hai?" And he's like, "Ah, murder." And the way he's like pointing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I tell you what, it's been brilliant. And I think Mona Singh, honestly, like I've always wanted her to see her do something that's a bit more on the darker side of the spectrum. And I think we're gonna definitely seem to get that with
She's
her.
killed it, man.
Oh, man.
She has really killed it. And it's nice to see just see but murderous. You know what I mean? I'm proud to say, we always tell each other, like, we don't know if this film is good or not, but it's different. You're not going to see another one of these in a while, and with Mona Singh, I think we've offered her something that is really out of the wheelhouse of what she's been offered. And she's like, oh, I got to eat into this fully because this is a once in a lifetime thing. And she just went, man. She has like Yakuza tattoos. She kills people with poison cutlets. She gets into knife fights. It's insane for, Amir's mom from Lal Singh Chadda to be this murderous and kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. And again, what I would love to know though, because I feel like see, as audiences, when you watch a quirky character, we see the final product of what is on screen, the writing that's translated to the screen. But I would love to know, how does one gauge, especially as a creative, when writing or forming such quirky characters? Because obviously you don't know how the audience is going to take it. Obviously, no one ever knows that. But what would you say he plays a big part in forming these characters, which are kind of villainous, almost pantomime villains, but also very hilariously quirky as well at the same time?
Well, a villain doesn't know they're a villain, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So they're just playing it for something. And as a director, we have to give them that something. So I think we have a conversation before each scene, which is what do we want to convey during this scene? How do we want the audience to feel during this scene, right?
Hmm.
Who has the power in this scene and what do they want?
Hmm.
We have that conversation with each other as directors. And so, like a lot of the scenes that I'm in, Mona Singh has complete power, and it's driven by what Mona Singh wants. You know, so it's very, very important to establish a what she wants, b who else in the room knows what she wants. You know, if she's driving the scene, and look, the script is the script is the script, right? It's very outrageous and it's ridiculous, but play that with a straight face. You really got to give an actor a real thing to go towards.
Yeah.
You know,
And every motivation we gave any character in the film was a real motivation.
yeah.
Like if Mona's killing someone, Mona's killing someone. And there's a seriousness behind that. And we almost played this entire thing like a drama. And I think that's what's see. It's a film where the lines are funny. You know what I mean? The funny is there. But the more serious every character started playing it, the funnier it became
Yeah.
because the situations were absurd.
Hmm. And do you know what? Speaking of situations, and I must congratulate you both because honestly, it really is, you really have been resilient. I think in this industry, it's never easy to sustain yourselves and to thrive fully. And I can honestly really, really appreciate the journeys that you both have had. In fact, what I find very fascinating is that you both, in a way, this is, you both have kind of been independent talents, but yet you've worked with the mainstream of
Mhm.
Hindi cinema. You've worked with some of the top talents in the country, some of the top studios in the country, and the fact here you are with the outlandish comedy, which is a very kind of it is a acquired taste sort of a film. It's not a typical film that we would brand as mainstream or commercial, right? I mean, I'm not even going to get into the specifics of that because that's also very complex. But I think it's interesting because I feel like this film really does symbolize your trajectories in life. Your independent talents, and here you are on a mainstream studio backing you and supporting you. And a big shout out to Aamir Khan Productions for doing that. But I think how challenging I think has it been to really sustain yourselves and to keep that voice in you as artists alive and not get phased by kya chalta hai kya nahi chalta hai, kind of a thing, and to sort of be consistent. I think that's what I would love to know, actually.
We are The nice thing about DIY is you're not waiting for anybody to do it for you. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, so
Yeah.
you don't get bored and you're not sitting around. You're like, okay, let's go write something and shoot it ourselves and put our own money into it, and we'll see where it lands and if it lands somewhere at all. We have three things that we've shot and paid for that may never see the light of day, but we had as much fun shooting them as we did this.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like underdog energy, man, and I think Amir Khan does too. Like look at
Yeah.
everybody in this movie. Kavi and I, first-time directors, complete underdogs, right? Mithila is always
Oh.
the sweet girl next door. Has four action sequences and four fight sequences in this, and is an utter badass in this. Mona Singh now getting her due as an actress.
Mm.
You know what I mean? But has been talented forever. Shruti
Hmm.
Tawde, great rapper. No one knew how well she could act. Sharib Hashmi is just an insane comedy genius, you know, but never gets to play something really abstract and out there and fun. So it's a film full of underdogs. It's a
Mm.
tiny film full of underdogs. So I kind of like that. I feel like that has a spirit to it that's always better, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. Kavi, would you like to add anything to that,
Yeah, I
actually? It would
mean,
be
like,
good.
look, we come from like we've been doing live shows together for many many years, and now the thing is we will sweep the stage, right? So if we will have to sweep the stage together, and I think every actor in this film has kind of done that as
Yeah.
well. You know what I mean? Everyone has just our pitch to a lot of these actors when we came into this was that listen, I don't think any of us will ever get to make this movie again,
Yeah.
or a film
Mm.
like this again. So let's go. And everyone who's come on board, whether it's our crew, whether it's our cast, even our producers, everyone's like, let's go. Let's make something that we may never get to make in this lifetime again.
Yeah,
You know?
like we have a crew we do not deserve.
Yeah.
To be very like we have a crew that we couldn't afford and do not deserve, and they're technicians that work with the A-list of Bollywood.
Mm.
And they read the script and they were like, "Oh shit! Like we're not making this ever again.
Yeah.
So let's do this one for fun." So we are there one for fun. You know.
Mm. No, definitely. And I think it's also, I would love to give a special mention to Imran Khan in this
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I'm a big, honestly, I adore Imran's work so much. And I think the sort of comfort that I think he's given to all of us through his rom-coms and the films that he's done, it's a very distinct sort of position that he attained for himself in the industry. And when I saw his entry as well, I don't know what his character is exactly in the details, but it obviously seemed like a very hero type of an entry. And at the same time, it kind of took me back to my growing up days of watching a show called Goodness Gracious Me. And I'm sure Kavi, you'd remember this. So Kulvinder Gir used to play like a typical, stereotypical Bollywood hero who would randomly come in and do all the typical stuff that
Yeah.
they would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I would love to know about, I think, convincing Imran actually to kind of, come back, make a little comeback with this. And it's been a decade since he, sort of left the industry as well. So would love to know if you can divulge a little bit about that. That would be wonderful.
Very interesting. I'll let Veer explain this one because it's an interesting story how Imran came on board.
Yeah. So we got greenlit by Aamir, and we're in pre-production. And of course, Imran and Aamir are family, and it's an Aamir Khan production. And buzz starts to go around the house saying, "Oh, this fun film is being made, etc." And I think a month before shoot started, and 2 months into pre-production, I got a text from Imran being like, "Hey man, I believe the film's pretty cool, and like the script is pretty cool. Do you think I can pop into the film?"
Hmm.
A month before, and I was like, yes,
Yes.
100% yes. But then I'm gonna write you something really cool, and we got to do something that you haven't done before, you know. So I can tell you that Imran plays a character called International Supermodel Milind Moria. Uh, and that's really all I can tell you. But
Yeah.
it's Imran sent me a text, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go away, write some shit for a week, and then come back, pitch it to you." And yeah, I've never seen him do anything like this before. That's kind of cool.
Do you know what? I don't know. I don't know if this is the universe conspiring or God's, divine intervention. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like this film has come at such a perfect time. I mean, Dhurandhar hype has been ongoing and people are loving the film so much. And I think there's this whole taste of like watching spy thrillers
Yeah.
that's definitely really reinvigorated. Then obviously, like I mentioned earlier, Bad of Bollywood has really kind of taken over the OTT space, I would like to say as well. So I feel like again, this film, the fact that comebacks as well have happened. Akshay Khanna's dance has been going viral, and obviously then we've had Imran's comeback that's happened. So it just feels like it's almost divine intervention that's happened with this film. Like it just feels really surreal, and it's not really a question, but it's just a point I wanted to make, and I would love to know, Veed, if this is something which really resonated with you. I think with the way the industry is kind of going and the way the sort of systems are rechurning themselves, in terms of the creative field. I would love to know what you think about that, if anything at all.
If I can jump in,
Yeah.
but I think that this is the spy comedy genre is something that we've been thinking about for a long, long
Yeah.
time.
Of course.
But to be fair, the universe opened up like the YRF spy universe for us, right? And other spy films that all of a sudden you've got your wars, you've got your Pathans of the world, and so
Mm.
all of a sudden we're like, oh, there's a way of actually creating a subgenre of the spy universe with a film like this. So I think it's a lot of other people as well who have kind of opened those doors for us to bring a concept
Definitely.
like this into play as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say, look, we're an original film. So at
Mm.
no point are we, like what Naked Gun does is take, or like what a scary movie does is take what's already been shot and do their version of it. We're not doing
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Right. So you'll never see like a war reference or a Pathan reference or like a Tiger reference in our movie, for instance. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of all original, but um, comedy is counterculture, right? That's
Mm.
all it is. So you kind of have to wait for culture to exist before you can do the counter of it, you know.
Mhm.
So you need like a Pathan and a Durandar and a War and all of that stuff to have the idiots also be let into the door. And we are the idiots. Like, I mean, bro, like our entire film is probably less than the catering budget of Durandar. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we're the idiots who've been let in the door. Culture had to exist for counterculture to
Yeah.
exist, and we're counterculture.
Very interesting. And I would love to know a bit about this because I feel like for a while, I think comedy in Hindi cinema at least, it was kind of drifting away. I would like to say that there weren't that many films that kind of were living up to that whole what a satisfying feeling hoti hai jab aap like say for
Yeah,
example if you watch a 2000s Hindi movie like a Singh is King, right? You could watch it and
yeah.
you'd be like, okay, I feel satisfied that I've watched a really good comedy film. And that feeling, I think, for me personally, has been lacking for a long, long time. But I think with this one, it definitely seems to promise that return of that wholesome comedy feeling where you deeply feel satisfied, that you deeply feel that it wasn't cringe, it wasn't overtly sexual for the sake of getting clout. It wasn't vulgar either, So I think it seems to kind of reinvigorate that sort of a thing. I mean, I want to pick your brains a little bit about this as well. Why do you think comedy, in a way, was kind of lagging behind a little bit? Is it because it's just people were more driven to telling more serious stories, and that's how society's become, so they were catering to that? Would love to know your thoughts on that.
I mean, I look, we're a silly film, right? At the end of the day, like if you go back to the counterculture thing, like when Delhi Belly came out, right?
Right.
Culture was very soft.
Mm.
You had like Guzarish and Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara and Parinita and you were coming off of those. So suddenly we got to be really, really vulgar, right? For instance, with Delhi Belly, and that was quote unquote edgy and funny for that reason because it was not what the culture was. Now culture is pretty hard, man. Like we live in Mirzapur, Patal Lok, the Wazepur. That's culture right now. So silly and stupid and fun and soft is the flip on that. Like Happy Patel's an idiot, and he's genuinely just hello, just kind of like showed up with 100% positivity, and I think that's what makes it funny. Now, why do I think comedy's been drifting for a while? I I think it's because usually in Bollywood at least, they get a leading man to do comedy, right?
Mm.
Instead of getting comedy professionals to do comedy sometimes. You know, if you look at a Hangover, for instance, in structure, or an Adam Sandler movie, you need comedy guys to make a comedy film really, really, really work. And I think the Hindi movie industry is slowly opening up to that. It's taking a long time, but it's very much dictated by what leading men want to do at the time.
Mm.
And I think for the last 10 years, leading men have wanted to, you know, uh, do some macho shit. So, they've been doing macho stuff, but hopefully they kind of gravitate towards comedy again.
Yeah, and I think it's good as well because, like you said, it balances out a bit of everything, isn't it? Like it kind of acts as that glue. But I would love to know a bit about you, Kavi, as well, in terms of the sort of back because we've spoken so many times, but I've never actually delved into your cinematic taste growing up as well, especially as a Brit. Because I think a lot of us, I think, have grown up watching a lot of the DDLJs and the very escapist Hindi cinema, which I'm glad we did because it really gave us a sense of grounding. But I would love to know a bit about what sort of shaped your sort of grammar for
You see,
Hindi
I
cinema.
think I really I grew up watching sitcoms like Only Fools and Horses,
Ah, of
Yes,
course.
Mister, Keeping Up Appearances. So I've been very in that sort of BBC, kind of vibe in terms of comedy. The escapism of Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham and stuff. Yeah, that's what drifted me and made me want to come to India, right? Because it's living a dream. I feel like to be honest with you, I always thought of myself as a very serious person until I met V, and then I was like, oh, okay, I can do comedy too, and uh, I think the films that have really shaped, like I'm not like, hey, watch cinema parody. So one of my favorite films is Home Alone. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
man.
I love that film. So I realized that my instinct really comes from the things that I've enjoyed watching. as I've grown up. And I think that with this film as well, there is a lot of dry humor in this film.
Yeah.
And a lot of that does come from just watching, watching Only Fools and Horses and things like that as I've grown up as well, and being like, I think that's funny, and I think I've tried to bring as much of that as I could onto this film as well.
Right. No, absolutely. And Vida, I would love to know about you as well, actually, because we've spoken a lot about the comedy, and I think in the Emmys interview it went a little serious because I delved into the serious parts of life. Because obviously, I ever always feel that any comic actor, there's always a sense of gum behind every smile that we see. But I won't delve into that here because I know it's a happy film, and I rather celebrate the happiness of that aspect. But I would love to know a bit about your backdrop, of your sort of cinema. And I have to tell you, my early memory of you was in Namaste London, I think,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
you
yeah.
played
The
one
one
of the
with Singh.
suitors of Katrina Kaif. That was absolutely rib tickling. Ironically, also Nina Wadia was in that scene as
Yeah, of
well.
course she was. I remember very, very well. I was prospective groom number three. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm I kind of I don't watch comedy so much. I'll be honest with you. Like you work at McDonald's, you don't want to eat burgers once you get home. You know what I mean? It's just not your. So I watch like heavy action. I'm a huge horror film guy. So like I'm
Oh.
hopefully Kavi and I after this our next film is going to be a proper horror movie. And we get to go down that road
Mm.
because a joke and a scare have exactly the same timing. By the way, it's exactly the same. Surprise. And then I just really like I don't know. My favorite movie is Inglorious Bastards, for instance. Like I love indulgent
Mm.
action movies sometimes, like big set piece indulgent action movies. You know.
Right. No, absolutely. I think I won't make it too sentimental, but I think I would love to just sort of just acknowledge and celebrate the journey you've had here, because it really is so momentous. And I've said this to Kavi so many times that like, I think when growing up, I think seeing him really do well and make a big success story in India was it has been such a big inspiration for all of us, Brits growing up who've loved
Yeah.
Hindi cinema, and the way he's thrived. And likewise for you, Veed, I think the way you've being from what was it, suitable groom number 13 or whatever that title was, to actually people now knowing you for you and your craft. I think it's huge. I mean, do you ever have like this moment where you just feel like it's been a whirlwind of emotions and you're trying to like just make sense of what is going on? Because I'm sure it's not been easy, right? What we're talking to you today about, it's not been easy getting there. So I would love if we can just acknowledge that and celebrate that, because there will be so many people watching that look at you both as inspirations.
For me, I think we don't belong here, right? We don't belong in this business. We don't have any right to be in this business. For me, anyway, and I think for the both of us, if I can speak, every Friday is our last Friday. So therefore, every day, every Monday, we wake up and we're like, okay, how do we make sure we get past this next Friday? So I think, I think a lot of it is just drive of belonging, but never really belonging. And I think it's that drive of, okay, well, that's okay. We are the underdogs, as we said. Let's do something. Let's do something cool. Let's do something that makes us happy. And once like I look forward to waking up every morning. And I think V's up at like some 4:30 in the morning writing. I'm up at 5:36 every morning, and we really seize the day. We try and do as much as we can in the day. Um, uh, you know, so I think a lot of it just comes from just drive um, of fear. I think of that we'll wake up tomorrow morning and this will not be there anymore.
Mm.
Yeah, I think also for me, man, there's no time to reflect.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's no time to like. Right now, it's like we're kids who got given the keys to the bouncy castle, and we gotta take as many leaps as we can and
Yeah.
get away with it. You know what I mean? So that's like look at this. We're in a studio where like these guys.
Oh,
This is Sid Mead and all of that stuff. They did Homebound in this studio, which
oh
is
wow.
which is going to the Oscars. Same guy who did Homebound is doing Happy Patel Khatarnaak Jasoos, right? So if you think about it, like there's no entitlement, of look at where we've gone, etc., etc. We're just like shit. The guy from Homebound is doing
Tera
Happy
movie.
Patel Khatarnaak Jasoos. Let's make sure it's good.
And
So
yeah.
I think
No,
it's Yeah.
Yeah, no, that energy is so beautiful, and I think one thing that I love about Amir Khan Productions is that every film of theirs, like for example, I'm not even gonna talk about the other commercial films, but I'm gonna talk about the other independent ones, like for example, Peeply Live, The Hobie Guard,
Yeah.
some fine products actually, and films that they've said, even if the backdrop is extremely dark, like take The Hobie Guard for
Yeah.
example, right? It's dark as hell, but yet there is a sense of hope I
Yeah.
feel attached in all of the films that they've backed, and even Happy Patel has its moment of obviously like this goofball who's obviously trying to fight darkness and sort of be action packed. But there's that sense of hope that I think is very symbolic, right? I think that's really important, isn't it? I think
Yeah, for
in
sure.
having.
But when I wrote the first page of this movie and Kavi and I talked about it, etc., at its core, it is a movie about what it means to be Indian and how India opens its arms to everybody. That's the core of the movie. Even
Mm.
a goofball, idiot, NRI, failure, spy belongs in India. India is for everybody. The our tagline is India is for beginners. The big Instagram comment is India is not for beginners. We
Yeah,
believe
yeah, yeah.
India is for beginners,
Absolutely.
and that's the core of this movie. So it's very hopeful.
No, definitely. No, absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to it as well. But I think obviously what you both have created is revolutionary. And I think the duo I think the sort of camaraderie that you both have touched wood, like I think it's been incredible. And I think going forward now, I think also because you've kind of had influences of so many different styles, you've been on screen, but being behind the screen, calling the shots this time, that must have been a very surreal moment for you as well, because you've observed so much. Like, there's a certain color palette, like different studios employ different color palettes and certain framings. The same story will be told differently by different producers and directors. But all of that, I think, how did that really explode for you behind the camera? And I think Veed, for you, it must have been super tricky to kind of direct your own self sometimes, sort of be there behind the camera and then be there in front. And I think that's probably where I'm sure Kavi must have been, brilliant as well.
I'm not direct. If my performance sucks, it's Kavi's fault, man. To stop directing me, in this, but no, we just prepped really hard,
Yeah.
And the best thing to have when you're, as an actor at least, is a director who'll tell you when it's crap, and that's what you
True.
need for a comedy director. Is a director who tells you when it's not funny. Any director can tell you when it's funny and when it makes the set laugh and when it makes people laugh. A comedy director tells you when it's not funny. So it's nice for me to be improvising and thinking of lines or drawing storyboards or doing all of that stuff. But then Kavi can kind of, I never go behind monitor once I've watched the shot. So I'm in front of
Mm.
monitor the entire time. Kavi's behind monitor. And for him to kind of be like, it's shit, do something else. And be very gentle with the other actors. Mona, you need to do this, and Mithila, you need to do this. Wait, it's shit.
Shit.
Try something else. And that's what you want, man, when you're doing a comedy.
Yeah. What about you, Kavi? I would love to know your sort of perspective as well about
Uh,
directing the
See,
shots.
for me, from an actor's perspective, anything you watch, you're like, I know I could do that. But then, very strangely, on this film, even I mean, I was meant to do one small cameo in the film, which is this one guy in this dance sequence and during Banda Dilli Nachega, who's just an announcer, and I was just going to come on and do it. When I saw the other guy do it, I was like, no, I couldn't have done it like this. You know what I mean? So what's been really interesting for me as an actor who's not been in front of the camera is just watching other characters come to life, and just
Mm.
watching other people bring their own into every single character, and yes, as an actor, there's a perception of how you're going to read a scene or how you're going to deliver or what your tonations, what your inflections are going to be. But then when you're watching someone else do it in their way, you're like, oh, I didn't even think about this. You know what I mean? And so it's been a very interesting, it's been a very uplifting experience for me to see other people just take something on page and do something that I wouldn't even have thought about,
Yeah.
with it. So
And
that's been great.
it's also humbling because I think for both of us, because everything we've made before this is pretty small, right?
Mm.
So for the first time, we're working with people who are far more talented than we are as actors. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we got to direct like Mona and Aamir Khan, and these people are insanely experienced. Mona has done 600 episodes of television. That is a different kind of craft.
Yeah.
She just knows where the camera is, knows like it's insane training, right? So for both of us, because we're reasonably fresh as actors, right? At the end of the day, we haven't done a ton of work as actors. Suddenly we're sitting there going, yeah, man, this Aamir Khan guy is pretty good.
Good.
Like he seems to
He knows what he's doing.
he seems to know what he's doing, man. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, no, it's such a flex though. But I think, do you know what? I think one thing that I love about Amir Sir, I think such good fortune I got to interview him for Sitar Zameen Par, and honestly, do you know what? He's so honest. I think there is this sense of honesty that he has, as a even when I was speaking to him, that openness that he had, and I think his willingness to actually really explore different shades as an artist is something which is so rare. Like I remember watching this Tata Sky ad. I don't know if you remember this Veed,
Yeah,
where he
yeah,
was
of course. That was
half
very
a
cool.
man, half a woman, right? And I was like, this is so cool. And I think it's a different feeling, isn't it? But not just directing a superstar, but a superstar who is also willing to adapt to different, sort of tonalities as an artist. I mean, that must have been, I can't even imagine how that must have been,
I mean,
directing Jimmy, as such a quirky character.
to be fair, Anuj, like when he was on set, he wasn't a superstar. He was our actor.
Yeah.
He'd come and he'd ask, was that good? What can I do different? He approached it like every actor would approach it. You know what I mean? That was first day on set. And I think that was the magic behind Amir Sir, to be fair. At no point did we ever feel like there's a superstar on set and so we have to behave in a certain way. It was like, no, if it wasn't good, we were able to go and tell him it wasn't good and he'd come up with a variation for
Yeah.
us. And that's not just in the acting process, it's in the dubbing process as well. In every part of the film that we've interacted with Amir Sir on, there's always been a pivot, there's always been it's never felt like it's always felt like someone is gunning for your film, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and wanting to be part of your film and wanting to make sure that every frame of your film is its best version. And I think that's
Mm,
what so about him.
And he also, it doesn't hurt that, I mean, that's on set, Amir Khan, right? But then it doesn't hurt that you're sitting behind monitor and his first shot, he walks in, etc. He has that thing, man.
Yeah, I do.
He just there's a thing that five people have, this eternal presence that just shoots through the monitor
true.
at you.
Mm.
And he's got it, and I don't think you can learn that. And I don't think you can manufacture that. I think that's just God is like, all right, these 10 people get it and good luck.
Yeah.
And he's one of those 10 people.
Nice. Brilliantly described. Okay, on a final note, now that obviously Happy Patel is gearing for its release, and I'm super excited. First part is, will we expect some Guju sort of Gujuness coming out of it as well, Kavi? And secondly, I think now that you've made this film and you kind of mentioned that you want to kind of explore horror next, but I think what are your kind of hopes and ambitions now? I think in terms of creating more content and content that relates more than impressing.
Well, I think, look, in terms of what comes next, I don't know, right? And I think it's all, there's a million ideas that are floating through our heads, and then we'll write them down, and then we'll try and get them made. So what comes next? Hopefully we have a horror that will come next. A different genre that we can go into. It's a hard question, actually.
I mean, there's a very simple answer to it. It depends on what this does, man.
This could be our last Friday.
You know what I mean? Like, if this does well, there'll be a next. If this doesn't do well, we'll see you in 5 years with another project. It's
Yeah.
going to take that long to put another one together. Who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah. And Gujarati, I'm sure we can expect, right?
Little bit.
Little bit.
It's not relying on cultural tropes at all,
Yeah.
to be or any Guju tropes at all, to be honest with you. It's kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
Right, lovely. Well, if I don't see an orange juice reference in this, Veer, I think I will be writing to you and saying, why is there not an orange juice reference? And if people who've not seen Delhi Belly, you need to watch that and you'll realize exactly what I'm talking about. No, but I think it's been wonderful. And Veer and Kavi, I think even last time we had such a lovely chat. And honestly, it's been so lovely to really mark this milestone, I think, in your careers. And I'm so, so proud of Happy Patel. I've not seen the film yet, so I need to watch it and share my views on that. But I'm just so happy that you've made it, honestly. And I think it's a big testament to, like you said, the underdog spirit. And I absolutely love that. And may you keep conquering and doing some amazing work and making us all smile.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
I really do.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.